showing live. We'll see if it actually starts up properly. All right. Is that going out properly? Can't tell if it's actually started yet properly or not. Being a bit of a tech tard. Says that it's live, but we'll see in a moment, won't we? We will see. There we go. Is it live? Yes, it is. Okay. Good. Although for some reason it's not showing any numbers yet. Oh, and that just populated. All right. I started to speak a little too soon. It's like, okay, it's showing nothing, and then boop, there it is. All right. Hello, Lilith. Greetings and salutations. I guess, yes, it is up and running, although it's not showing the live chat here on the right side of my screen here. It says no live chats yet. I wonder if that'll pop. No, let's go to all. Nothing. I see the dancing little dog emojis when I look on the phone to see if this is actually running properly, but hell's bells. Well, I'll just keep that pretty much muted so that unfortunately I'm going to have to kind of do back and forth checking to see any messages that come through. Gotta love how this doesn't seem to run properly, but I guarantee it's more a problem on my end than anything. And there does appear to be something of a delay as well. But que sera, I can almost guarantee it is not the issue is probably not on Rumble's end or Rumble Studios end. It's likely on my end because I'm not a boomer. I am a elder millennial / Xennial or tail end Gen X. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into really quickly. Going with the whole comic books, and yesterday, just to kind of get myself and the two older kiddos out of the house and get moving, because my older kiddo, she did not want to be cooped up in the house, and her friends are not available for her to hang out with, and I wanted to get my son up and out of the house as well. We took a little trip up to the local Goodwill. I needed to grab some shorts and pants for my boys because they're outgrowing everything. They're springing up like weeds. And my kiddo, Avery, my oldest, she spotted this Spider-Man shirt. It says, amazing dad. And she's like, Dad, here, you should grab this. I'm like, well, that's a very sweet sentiment. Thank you. But we're not really here for that. And she's like, yeah, but when do you ever really get yourself new clothes? Fair point. So went ahead and picked this up, and she also spotted a shirt that's the screenshot from The Legend of Zelda, the first one, when you go in the cave and the old man says, it's dangerous to go alone, take this, and gives you the sword. And thankfully it was in my size. I'm like, fuck it, put it in the cart. Let's go. But that is, damn it, this is still not showing any chats. I certainly do not want to have to restart this whole damn thing. Lilith, I need to ask you to do me a favor, if you can, and say something else in the chat, because I am not certain that it's carrying over. Even on the phone, it's not showing anything. Then again, I'm not exactly a very active room or show at the best of times. Anywho, the title of the program, Books Destroyed for AI, plus some football, both American and otherwise. First of all, I'm not by far the first person to want to comment on apparently these AI companies, or just tech firms generally speaking, purchasing up large swaths of antique books, journals, older magazines, some just almost forgotten texts, whether they be journals, diaries, older tomes of encyclopedic information, or even some fiction tales, I don't doubt, are being snatched up in lots and large purchase orders by these tech firms that are utilizing scanners that effectively cut off the spine of these books, cleanly kind of carve it right off like a butcher's block, fitting the term butcher in this case, and then is scanning the pages into their databases in order to train their AI database systems, their LLMs, their large language models. The purpose behind these scannings is ostensibly in order to train their systems and to store the data and information therein. There's a couple of obvious problems that I would take up ethically, morally, regarding this. I would view this as a modern day burning of the Library of Alexandria. The trouble that I have saying that with absolute finality or authority is twofold. First of all, the stated purpose of these companies in doing this is that they are attempting to digitally archive the text and the information in these tomes, in these books, which, if that is their actual pursuit, huzzah, I can commend that inclination, that intent. The problem comes in that we know very well, those of us who are average everyday people, what is sometimes dismissed as normies. We know very well that digital manipulation of data and information is a thing. It is a widespread practice amongst the more powerful tech companies. And digital or stealth editing is a common practice in the modern era. There's no reason to have to destroy these books in archiving and cataloging the data or information therein either. Because there have been follow-up videos showing up on X feeds, people talking about these machine setups that can effectively use a kind of vacuum suction device that comes down in between the pages, suctions up a page in order to turn it, and then they use a kind of rapid light photographing method from both sides of this armature that comes down, and it scans the pages to translate or transmit the information of the data into their training database and archive without damaging the books, without tearing them apart or pulping them. This is where the profit motive comes into play. The device or the machines that suction up, vacuum the pages to preserve them, to leave them as undamaged as possible. These are larger machines. They are far more costly to operate. And in the aftermath, those companies are having to warehouse and store the physical books that they have purchased. It increases the cost of the operation. I'm not naive enough or foolish enough to demand or even want to demand that a company spend its money doing something that I would prefer they do. They have purchased these books. These books are their property to do with as they will. Do I like that they're pulping and destroying and shredding them? Absolutely not. It hurts my brain. It gives me thinky pain, as Mark Maron might say. Even though there's not much that I really care to hear from Mark Maron. He's a prick. And he's about as intellectually dishonest as you can get. But I understand their bottom line approach and mentality. I don't like it. I don't have to like it. But they're going to do what they're going to do, and no amount of howling and screaming and pissing and moaning on my or anyone else's part is going to stop them. One moment. Again, dealing with technical kerfuffles because I am a putz and don't always know what I'm doing very well. Sorry about that. A secondary issue for me with regards to this is why are they suddenly... This isn't... And here's the thing. This isn't sudden. This isn't brand new. Apparently, this has been going on for a couple of years. Hi, Lilith. All right, so chat does show up. Just for some reason, it didn't show your little dancing pugs previously. So I can go ahead and I'm going to exit out of this, preserve my phone battery. This has been going on for apparently a couple of years, that certain tech companies, especially AI-focused companies like Anthropic, have been engaging in this practice of scanning and destroying in large quantities these older books. And I appreciate you stopping in, Lilith. I do appreciate it. It's always good to have a familiar face or familiar name to pop on in and say hello. But this, in part, also got me thinking. I understand that reading is not most people's primary pursuit for entertainment purposes. I am a bit of an archaic or an anachronistic fellow in that regard. I still prefer having my physical books to indulge in. Now, sadly, as you can see, the cover has gotten ripped on this. Got this on a recommendation from a friend at work who is himself also a bibliophile. Spends a lot of his downtime reading. And he's a big-time sci-fi fan, old-school sci-fi fan, Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, Babylon 5. And he actually recommended that I grab this, so I went on Thrift Books and I ordered a copy. Got it for $6. Not a bad deal. And started reading it yesterday morning. Got myself a decent ways into it. It's called The Kobayashi Maru. It is a Star Trek novel from based upon the original series, and I am actually rather enjoying it. I was never a big fan of the original series. I'm much more of a next-gen guy. But I don't have the widest knowledge base to compare with because I'm only familiar with the original series, Next Gen, and the first 2 seasons of Deep Space Nine, because I am only now, recently, finally getting around to watching Deep Space Nine. I don't have the greatest amount of time to just sit and indulge with a show or a series of movies. When I have downtime, I am either got my nose in a book, Or I've got my comics. I have been getting back into collecting comic books and reading them. Although I'm behind even on my comic books. My to be read list is longer than both arms if I were to set them next to each other. It's a nice problem to have. But I also understand that with physical books come physical limitations. I am blessed to have a pretty good amount of storage capacity for hosting all of my books. Wait, was you talk OG Zelda? No, no, no. I was mentioning earlier that I grabbed a shirt at Goodwill yesterday that's got the image um, from the initial screen when you maneuver Link into the cave to get the sword. When the old man says, "Yeah, apparently that did help, Lilith." Um, what was I saying? But yeah, when it comes to lost my spot, train of thought derailed. Woo! Um, when it comes to my familiarity with Star Trek, like I said, most of my familiarity is with the original series and the Next Generation. However, I'm always willing to indulge in a book because I can sit down and read on my breaks at work. I usually have about a half an hour after I get home from work most nights where I just kind of unwind before I head to bed. And oftentimes, if I've got a book that I'm currently in the process of reading, I'll spend most of that time reading a book. I especially I always enjoy these referred to as a pocket book. It actually says pocket right on the spine. And they call it that because you can actually slip it into a back pocket and carry it around with you. Uh-oh, the stream froze. Where's it frozen at? I can tell that it's frozen because it is diving down. Diving down, diving down. Let's see what's going on here. Lose my connection. Uh-oh. That's not great. Dead air, Josh. Dead air. All right. It's showing that it's up and running. I believe it would appear that I had a blip in my connection. If so, any freezing or pausing on the stream is because of the internet connection on my end. But I am sorry. I am aware that not everybody indulges in the pastime of just sitting down with a book and reading. I'm well aware of that. One of the constraints is storage. As I was saying, I've been pretty blessed to have a decent amount of storage space available to me down here in my office. It's a very small room in the basement. I've got a couple of good sized standing bookshelves. I've still got room behind these mythology tomes to store even more books. I just need to do some rearranging of my comic book boxes and I can get more books stored there. I have more bins over here with more books and more comics. I will likely end up getting more containers to stack vertically if, well, not if, but when I get more books in the future. But I've always got a way to use the space that I have at my disposal to store more books. This room it's small, but it is set aside for my purposes. what might traditionally be referred to as a man cave. Lilith, when you say you think we're cooked, do you mean the show? I'm not certain what you mean, Lilith. At AGI. I'm not entirely certain what that means or what you mean by that. Well, here's a better question, actually. Would this be something you'd have an easier time explaining over voice? Oh, uh, because if it's something that you would have an easier time conveying over voice rather than in text, I can send you a an invite to come up onto the show. I've only done one show where I had someone else on the stream, and it was quite some time back. I had Ryan on shortly after he got zapped off of YouTube. But I'm fairly certain I'd be able to finagle getting you onto the show if you'd want. Consider that for a moment, and I will proceed for the time being. Um, like I was saying, I understand that physical storage of books can be a challenge, especially if you do not have a great deal of space to work with. I don't have the biggest house in the world. My wife and I own a modest home, but we have books in just about every room in this house. There are books in the living room, there are books in the family room on shelves, there are books in my room, in my bedside table. All three drawers in my bedside table have books in them, some of which I've read, about half of which I still need to get around to. I have a collection of the short stories of Robert E. Howard, author of the Conan novels and stories that I still have to get into. I have to crack that open. Like I said, my to be read list is a mile long. Again, good problem to have. The biggest challenge for me is finding the time to get into reading any of these. It's why the shorter books like this have been a godsend in that I can crack it open, read for a few pages with whatever few minutes I've got spare here or there throughout the day, and then go about my business. Um, it was a little bit of a challenge, though, when I was going through and doing my analytical reading of Tolkien's The Silmarillion. It took me a good month and a half to go through and work up an analytical reading of this. It is not the longest work out there. To be clear, without the appendix and maps in the back, it's only 292 pages in length. But when you are going through and performing an analysis reading of any work, that is going to push out your timetable, especially for a fellow like myself, who I'm stopping every few paragraphs to either take a note or make an observation for myself to come back to later on for further consideration and to kind of cobble together my thoughts on it. With the book I'm reading right now, I'm not doing that for an analytical read. I'm just reading it for the enjoyment thereof. As opposed to like if you're doing a reading for review. When I read this collection through a few months back, 13 short fantasy novels um, from the Baker's Dozen line, which sadly they only did like 3 or 4 of these Baker's Dozen collections. I read through this for review purposes, not for deep, an in-depth literary analysis, but more for a constructive or mechanical style review of the works therein. And that was enjoyable. It did take me about 3 weeks to get through all of the stories and put together some quick notes and impressions. But a review is not an in depth analysis. They are two separate procedures for dissecting a work. The differentiation I would think of for another way to kind of illustrate what I'm referring to. My friend Cortex and I, about a year and a half, 2 years back, we did an analytical viewing of the first season of Amazon's adaptation of Fallout. And we did several episodes, taking several streams. We took 2 episodes to do a single stream for that show or for that program. And Cortex approached his analysis or review of the show from the perspective of someone who is thoroughly, deeply knowledgeable with the franchise itself. All of the included lore, the games, the supplemental materials. He had a much deeper appreciation of the source material than I did. I was familiar with the first Fallout, and then Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, as well as some time that I had spent with Tactics. But I had never played Fallout 2. He had. He was also deeply familiar with all the extra little bits and pieces of lore and had kept himself in the loop on it all. Whereas myself, I was a little bit more of a casual fan of the series, but I was watching the show for a literary analysis perspective. So we ended up tearing that show apart. It just fine little minutia, and I had taken notes when I was watching it, pausing every few minutes whenever something piqued my interest, visually, audibly, something that was just narratively noteworthy. And so I just had dozens and dozens of little observations. Where did we go here? Is this the notebook with that? No, this is. Wait. I think I've got it. Yes. My notes from the watching of the Fallout show on Amazon. I started in this notebook. Let's see. Got through. Which episode did I get through in this notebook? Oh my God. I got through the first 2 episodes in this notebook before moving on into this notebook, the handwritten notes. And just spent a lot. Holy God, yeah. Went through almost the entirety of this second pocket notebook just to take notes for the analysis and impression takeaways from that first season of the Fallout show. Now, our conclusions lined up relatively similar to one another. Cortex was far more disappointed and enraged by the show than I was from a purely fan perspective. My rage stemmed from the overt, kind of ham-fisted ideological messaging that got pounded into viewers' skulls throughout. And in the aftermath of our viewing and analysis of that program, we looked around, both of us, at some of the other reviews at the time, and that had come out well before our sit down and discussions on the show. And both of us ended up kind of coming away with the idea that, wow, not a lot of other people really took the time to sit with this material and tear it apart, which was disappointing. The Fallout franchise has never been a novelized, to my knowledge at least. If there is a book out there couched in the Fallout universe, I am more than happy to have someone send me a link to that or comment on it if you're rewatching this stream later on, and I'll look into it. I'm more than happy to do that. But again, I referred back to these companies that are destroying and pulping books after scanning them into their archives. The idea that you're going to stop this is, I understand, foolish. They're not going to stop. There is no incentive structure set up for these companies to cease scanning and then destroying and pulping these books. The financial bottom line incentive for them leans towards scan it, archive it, destroy it, pulp it, get it out. But we are losing physical access to these books. I understand that with age, everything falls apart. Entropy is the single common universal truth. Everything runs down. Everything decays. Everything fades. I will grant you that. But that does not mean that we should give up on trying to maintain or keep relevant those older forms of possessing and transmitting knowledge onto future generations. I'll bring up another example briefly. This is just an average common notebook. If I don't take care of this, or if I don't keep it in a good environment, it is going to fade, it is going to age, it is going to deteriorate. It will eventually crumble into dust, just like everything else. The pages may smudge, may become illegible, there could be a house fire, there could be a flood. Any number of things can happen to physically damage and or destroy this notebook or any of the other books that I have here in my office. I acknowledge that that could happen. And even with the air purifier that I've got running, it doesn't help probably that I smoke down here. While the purifier helps minimize the damage done to my books that are in the open air on the shelves, not so much the ones that are in bins and are secured, I understand that I'm not helping in the preservation of this physical material by doing this. But I take what precautions I can to minimize that damage. The chances of these books surviving over the next 10 to 20 years is actually pretty good, because we've got a new we've got a new hot water tank. The plumbing in the house is solid. The odds are good that the material in this room is safe for a long time coming. but something could happen. I grant you that. What these tech companies are doing is intentionally grabbing this old material, archiving it, and then destroying the physical material, the source material. Why? Because it's more cost effective. There's a logic there that I can't argue against from a logical, Socratic perspective and angle. I can attempt to appeal to sentiment. I can attempt to appeal to emotion. But that is not, at the end of the day, going to move any such company at all. I don't have any personal influence. I don't have societal awareness or financial power or political station or power or influence to ask that they not do this. My single voice of objection literally means nothing to people like this. Even if I were to band together and put together some kind of large formal objection, put together a what's the word I'm looking for? A man of words. I should not be at a loss for them. Even if I were to put together some kind of campaign to gather together signatures and ask collectively with the voices of however many hundreds or thousands of people might also agree that they don't want to see these old works destroyed, at the end of the day, these companies don't answer to us. And like I said before, they've purchased these works, these books. It's their property. What they're going to do with it is up to them. It's all right, Lilith. You probably did not miss that much. I was mostly just kind of rambling more and more about the book destruction by these tech companies. Obviously, there are alternatives. There are alternatives. It's digital books, ebooks are a thing. And I would like to imagine that with the prevalence, with the number of options for formats available for people to read with or read in, that we can maintain literacy and hopefully try to bring the rates of literacy back towards something at least respectable. It's going to be difficult. Well, trust me, Lilith, I prefer physical books myself as well. I prefer having an actual physical book in hand. By the way, Cortex, if you see this now or later, I am going to get around to reading this. I swear, I promise I will get to reading this. It is in the lineup for to be read books, for just reading for pleasure. But I do have two other books ahead of this one in line for me to finally get around to. I've got to get to reading Rabbits and the collection from Robert E. Howard. Rust-Colored Rain is third up on the list after finishing this. And yeah, that Lilith, that is a challenge, is having space for collecting books if you want to. That is a challenge. Having the physical storage capacity is one of the biggest challenges to be faced by anyone who is a bibliophile or an enthusiast of just reading. That's why I have always been fond of public libraries, book repositories, even those little, you see them everywhere around here, at least, these little boxes that are set up almost like mailboxes in the area, and they're called little free libraries. People are free to pop out, park on the side of the road, open the little clear glass fronted doors, and there's a selection of books that have been donated by people in the area, and you're free to select out a couple of books, and you're free to donate a couple of books. It's actually a really lovely little setup. They're usually community sourced. A couple of folks in the area, craftsmen, woodworkers, will build these little boxes, and then locals from the area will donate books so that they can have just kind of a free and open anytime exchange. Public libraries, like I said, another thing that I'm a huge fan and proponent of, though I'm not fond of the American Library Association for reasons that I've covered before and that I don't really want to dive too much into right now. Effectively, the top people running the American Library Association are subversive commie scumfucks who are trying to instantiate a perspective of gay race communism throughout the entirety of the selection available to the public. It's disturbing. These are the sorts of people who want to pull out Huckleberry Finn or To Kill a Mockingbird, but are more than happy to have genderqueer on their shelves. It's irritating. And yet you can't throw a stone anywhere in any of those libraries and find a decent science fiction or fantasy collection on the shelves. Not these days. My recommendation there, Lilith, is pair up or partner up with a writing troupe or writing group, writers group, to get feedback and assistance. I always would recommend that. There's a couple of groups that I'm in on Discord that are populated by storytellers, by authors of all levels of experience, including those who are they're just members of those groups to act as feedback readers. They offer beta reading. They offer some of them will offer light editing assistance. And there are folks who they split off into separate writing focused troops to work on specific techniques or methodologies for constructing a narrative. You can find them. There's just not as many as there used to be, sadly. Most writers groups have moved off of Discord and unfortunately onto places like fucking Reddit, of all places. I don't understand why you would go to Reddit if you're a writer, if you're an author, storyteller of any decency or worth your weight in salt, but they are there, and even though many of them are ideologically captured to the nth degree, there is some material there that could be helpful. There's utility even in groups of idiots. They serve a function. They may offer you an example of what not to do in many cases. Well, I imagine, Lilith, that a lot of that stems from, I assume that English is not your native language. It's not your first language. And that can cause things to be a bit kerfuffled. I'm going to move on Well, yeah, I know it's not. I know it's not how you speak, Lilith. That's why I said before, if you would like, I can try to bring you up onto the show. I've only hosted someone else on the show once before. I'm a bit tech tarded, so it's not always. I'm not always great shakes at working stuff like this. But if you wanted to, I can go into the. Uh, there we go. Copy the invite link, so I've got that on hand. But I believe. Let's see. Okay. Would I be able to do this? Boop, boop. There we go. All right. Discord. Open that up. We'll see if this works. Uh, Conversations. There we go. Trying to get this to work. All right. Ah, hell's bells. I gotta open up now. All right. Go. I sent the invite via Discord to you, Lilith. And so now we're going to go into this. All right. So I sent the invite to you on over Discord, and that should come through. Again, apologies for the dead air for anyone else who is with us right now. But I'm not great shakes at what I'm doing here. Not exactly professional. Just one waiting room. All right. Let me know when that comes through. I probably could have set that all. Okay. There we go. And participants. All right. Shows you're there. So now I gotta figure out how to. That's the share. All right. You're listed as a participant. How do I approve? Are you on mute on your own accord, or okay? I gotta. Ah, damn it!
Wait, I need to mute the rumble so it doesn't echo. Okay, that's the first step.
Good.
I don't know how to display myself. I don't own a camera. I will never show my real face online because I'm not as brave as you are. Um, but how do I make something that represents me? I don't find any option for that one.
That I also do not know. This is kind of a learning process for me right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. I never streamed on Rumble before. I mean, I do have a Rumble account. I dropped my AI music there for people to share, but that's about it. I never hosted anything ever. I was invited, of course, as you know, on Noise's stream or Rhoda's stream. Sometimes Will of the Fan stream. Sometimes Big Angry Phil. I was in some panels, but I always was invited, and they always would use StreamYard or the EV Max. Um, So I have no idea how this one works. Yeah. I'm just I was in the cold waters, so I could not adjust the picture. Well, whatever. Who cares? I'm just a big L now. Loser, Lilith, whatever. Lulu, which in
Yeah.
German means pest.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's telling.
no, it's fine. It's fine. Let's just go on. We will figure it out another time. I'm not fancy like that. I would like to have my sprite that I created for the online space, but it is not that important. I'm not that vain. So just let's go on with the discussion and the topic, since now I'm here.
Yeah, no, no. Certainly we can just proceed forward. So I imagine that you have also come across or been made aware of what the tech companies, the AI companies, are doing in terms of analyze or scanning, cataloging, and then destroying these old books.
Yeah, I mean, we are living. I mean, people call it a culture war. They only the funny thing is, the normies only noticed it when it came to their series, their movies, their games, not realizing that they were fucked long ago. Because it go into education first. The rewriting of history and the attack on the Western world is real. Everyone knows it. Everyone with half a mind knows it. We are in a very very interesting time. I remember the term. Every century, people would say we are living in the most interesting times. Yeah, this times I would say it's actually true because we are fighting for eternal freedom. Because if those pieces of shit globalist fucks win, there will be no more physical monies, and there will be 1984. You will see five lights. You will be fucked. That is where they are going for, and I'm really scared. I did not see it coming in my lifetime. I thought that it would take more time, but now I'm here seeing all of this shit and being like, oh shit. Mm-hmm. It's really it's really disgustingly dangerous. Which time we're living in. Um, yeah, as you said, they're trying to rewrite history. I mean, come on, Cleopatra is black. Um, in Odyssey, Helena is black. Oh, the Little Mermaid is black. Everything is now black because white people are so bad because they made the colonization. Oh, they were the slavers. Do you know history? Do you know history? No, you don't. Definitely, you don't. That's so fucking boring to me. Talking to people like this, I don't understand how it got this bad. And it is always the same with the mind cages. They are religious or political ideology based. There will be people in mind cages, and they are not free thinking spirits. They will not try to learn. They will not try to have an exchange of mind, people to people, person to person. They will ignore. They will ignore the truth. Finding the truth is what really would enhance our species. I mean, that's so funny. The Homo sapiens species in my mind is a piece of shit, but that's because I'm misanthropic. But there needs to be improvement, and the improvement always, the progress always is just in technology, the ways how you can kill each other or how you can control each other, how you can get more money, how you can be more greedy. No one ever fucking tries to evolve the human spirit itself and be a decent person. I mean, everyone knows in their soul what is right and wrong when they were born. They just ignore it. Every one of us did this. I stole shit when I was a kid.
I would have to offer a brief moment of pushback on that. You are what I believe you are referring to is a concept of universal altruism, um, which is a benevolent and certainly an appreciable approach to trying to view the world and operate and live within it. The challenge that arises from a concept or a conceit of universal altruism is, you know as well as I do, that there are way more folks in the majority of the world who are not altruistic.
Yeah, no, no, no. You misread me. I was never talking about altruism. I actually live. Okay, okay. When I was a kid, a very small kid, I understood the truth of the web, and the truth of the web is very simple. The strong will eat the weak. I believe in nature. Believe in cause and effect. I believe in reality. So altruism is something that I don't believe in at all. It is something that is nice that some people do. Most of the time, they do it for fake reasons. No, no, no. You misread me on that one. But please go ahead. I think you were still on onto something here where I maybe made a mistake.
It could be a matter of mistranslation or misunderstanding on my part, and I don't want to falsely interpret someone's meaning when I have the opportunity for clarification. So I appreciate that. Um, but you said that people know what is right and what is wrong. Well, we understand from neurochemically that there are people born and who operate in the world who simply do not have an understanding of a universal ideal of what is right and what is wrong,
I
either
actually
by
do.
the
I
nature
actually
of
think.
their brain.
No, no, go ahead. Sorry, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. By the nature of their brain chemistry and the neural impulsivity in their neural cortex, they simply do not process information in the same way as your average individual. So those folks are going to be extant in the world. Hey, Tom, greetings and salutations. Yes, I'm streaming and breaking shit because, yeah, I break things like my brain. Um,
Oh, I'm very much aware that the exceptions would adjust to the rule. I mean, the rule will see that is this is an ancient argument. Um, I see this all the time happening. That you say something like I think it's like kind of this and that, and then you say no, but no, not all of them are bad, or not all people do that. Yeah, well, but the exception
the
kind of
exception,
proves the
right, the
rule.
exception proves the rule. That
Yeah,
premise does stand. Yes, the exception proves the rule.
yeah.
How many?
That is a very weak argument to me if someone brings it up. And
I
what I was
understand, but
trying to say with that.
what I'm trying to convey across is that exceptions would be one or two out of a collective bunch. When
Hmm,
you have enough exceptions that it reaches the point of 10 to 20% of an entire populace, that's no longer just an exception. It is a
yeah,
plurality, a large enough
there is a
plurality
bit truth to
to
that.
mean something.
Yeah, there is a bit truth to that. I mean, I'm not good at math.
Say 30
I'm
seconds.
not good at that. But yeah, there's some truth to that. But I mean, tell me if my math is wrong. If there are 80% of people are pieces of shit and 20% are not, isn't that the exception to the rule anyways? Where's the line where you cross it? How do you say where the line is? I would not know. I'm really shit at math. I'm
I can't I can't be trusted to be an authority on stating where the line should be drawn there. Simply because I'm not that bright. Let's face facts.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you for your honest answer, and I'm thinking the same. I think that persons, everyone on the whole fucking planet, they draw their own lines.
yeah,
It's a very personal thing where you draw the red line. Um,
yeah,
and there will be never a consensus where the red line is, which is one of the main issues why people always will be having fights and killing each other because they cannot figure out where the red line is because the red line for you is way higher or way lower than another person's, and now
right.
you're instantly enemies
And
because the
and
red
that
line is where you
that's
need to take action. That's the issue. The red line makes you to take action. That's why
yes.
there will be always issues. That or why there will always be war, violence, and everything. I mean, at some points, people come together and find a red line that they can agree on, but that is super rare. Most of the times, The red lines are drawn in tradition, upbringing, culture, religion, your own morals, and it will not align with other people, and that's where the actual conflict comes from. It is a very simple concept if you think about it. I mean, that's why humans cannot live peacefully with each other. Not because they hate the other skin color or the other religion. It is often because of the red lines they drawn in the sand, and someone crosses it, and now you need to act.
Yes. And
That's my idea about it.
oftentimes you'll find that these red lines, when you have individuation from one person to another, it is easy enough to say, okay, here's my red line, here's your red line, here's how far apart they are. The typical tribal instinct is to say, okay, I'm going to find someone whose red lines are closer in alignment to my own, and
Hmm.
we will band together for tribal, clannish kind of
Hmm.
protection
Hmm.
together.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
that's how Homo sapiens work.
yes, we are tribal.
Why do you think we fucking eradicated the Neanderthals? They had more brain power, they were smarter, and they were stronger, but they did not have this trait. They could not band together and believe in stuff, and they were not as good as killing as we are. Homo sapiens are really good at killing. That's why we are the apex predator of this planet. Because we can make up shit, believe in it, band together, and be unfair and fuck everyone else up. And that is happening all the time. And even against each other, of course. I mean, look at the wars, look at history. No, 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 seriously. Look at it in detail. Mm,
You've you've introduced a word that is going to come into play in a lot of these conversations, which is the word fair. Fairness, oftentimes in nature, is not applicable.
yeah, it is not. I know.
And it's one of the reasons why one of my favorite jokes, dark jokes to make regarding the whole conversation of the concept of equity. This term that
Yeah,
gets thrown out by usually gets thrown out there by communist cocksuckers. You know, we're trying to arrive at a state of equity. There's only one place that you can find absolute equity. And I love informing these folks, hey, you know what? There is a place where everyone is equal. It's called a graveyard because they're all fucking dead.
Thank
If
you.
you really want equity, that's
You
where
are
it
so
ends up. That's
point
the end
on.
state of equity. We all have the same outcome. We all end up in the dirt.
Yes. I always
Now,
say that too. I
there-
really I'm so sick and tired discussing about politics, ideologies, and especially religions, because hey, we all gonna die, and you will find out. Why the fuck are you making an issue at me that I don't believe in gods when you do? Why do you want to kill me for it? Because I'm believing in the wrong god or no god? What's wrong with you? We will all die and find it out.
and
The
again,
equity,
this is
you're
where we
right.
have
The
this is
equity
where
comes.
we have
What? Go
this
ahead.
is where we end up having a differentiation in the approaches and ecclesiastical understandings and approaches to operating in the world. There are what are referred to as Jainist faiths, things like Buddhism, some sects of Hinduism, not all of them, because there are a few offshoots that are horrendously violent. Um, the kind of litmus test that I tend to look at as a good measure of how volatile a particular faith is, how well it can be integrated into a broader societal framework, is what is the penalty for leaving that faith?
Oh, that is a very good question. That's why I don't like the shawarma people because their answer is death. That's why even if I'm not I was born Catholic Christian. I was baptized. I did the first communion. But I just wanted to wear a pretty dress. I mean, come on. I didn't even know what's going on. only thought about what God is and God's all together when I was like actually, shortly after, I actually questioned myself about that. Um, but here's the funny thing: I don't have issues with Christians nowadays that much. I did when I was young. Since I have Viking bloods, I always was very angry that the Christians killed all the old gods in all of Europe. I never liked that. But uh, I came to the conclusion that end of the day, uh-huh. Oh.
You would like this, I think.
Yeah, I would. I would. I read many books like this. I mean, I did not read that one, I need to admit. Um, I had a god phase as a teenager. I was very much into Anne Rice. I read all of her books. The one with the 1,300 pages, I read in a week. Or whatever. Um, now I lost my train of thought. Ah, shit. I'm making a
It's
mess.
derailed.
I'm
I'm good for
sorry.
that.
I'm
No,
sorry.
no, no worries, no worries. Um, but Tom, I highlighted his comment here. Uh, Tom Stuck in the South says evolution made humans greedy and hold a lot. It benefited us for a long time, but it is just about running out. Um, yeah, the pursuit of property, the pursuit of having the most
Oh,
stuff.
we can talk about that one because I figured out in all my research. I mean, I'm only 42 years old. In all my research,
Younger
the
than
the fault of the downfall and the suffering of humans is the word property. In the moment when humans were making agriculture, suddenly this is my land and you cannot touch it. And suddenly a conflict evolved. And this shit about resources and ownership of land comes till today. And I find it very funny that I was born into a world where every fucking shit on the planet is owned by another piece of shit, and I'm just here for the ride as a fucking slave cog in a machine that I never asked for, and I should work like what 40 to 60 hours a week and squirt out some children and make this shit work. I don't like this how it turned out because I'm having a very natural side to myself. I think that humans should own their own land, and it not needs to be much. But having your own crops, your own livestock. I grew up with livestock. I had grandparents, actually a grand aunt that had chickens. She had cows. She had pigs. I know how livestock works. Um, it it's so unnatural how we live nowadays. I understand the progressive way of it. Like we're talking through a screen. Nobody can say that that is not valuable. It is. Um, and then I'm thinking of Star Trek again, where you have the replicators and all of the religions and all of the problems and all of the shit is just gone. That is just a fucking utopian future that we all wish for that never will come because humans are just not built for that because we have one core issue, and I'm not saying that I have it, but that is the issue that I in my opinion is shaping this world forever, and the word is greed. I'm not religious, but I do believe in the seven deadly sins, and I think greed is the most transformative sin that humans have and that shapes this world to ruin. What do you say about that?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is point out, and I'm sure you've had this thrown in your direction, so it's something that I'm certain you've heard echoes of, or will hear an echo of here. Sounds like the beginnings of a almost Marxist approach of people should only have so much stuff. However, I am not going to throw you under the bus with that assertion. What I think you're approaching is a concept or a conceit that did exist at one point, and unfortunately, because of the Industrial Revolution, got quickly shunted underground. A concept referred to as communitarianism. Communitarianism is the socio-political conceit of having small groups or families within the framework of that family or that neighborhood, collectively just within their own bubble, own and work for their collective benefit as that family or small group. When you have communitarianism, you have cooperative or collaborative effort towards a collective good on a small scale. It doesn't attempt to scale up, and it does not hand over authority to some central state.
It feels natural, doesn't it? You did me a bit wrong here, putting me into a corner. That's the thing that I don't like about humans, in general. They always likes to put you in a box so they can define you, which political, ideological, fucking place you are. I'm not none of that. I'm just was
Lilith, I'm going
talking
to just
about
really
living
quick
natural.
point out. I'm just going to point out really quick. Part of the reason I do that is like any other person, I communicate with words, and words are helpful to help us define concepts and ideas.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'd just be grunting at each other and making gesticulation.
Yeah, I know. My
Labels
brother is
can
very
have
proud of
a
me.
functionality, and I'm fine with asking for a clarification. However, I do not have a great deal of patience with the, well, I'm not this or that or the other thing. I grant you that. I am attempting to communicate a concept or conceit, and if you want to make adjustments for nuance, do so, but do so without saying, well, you're trying to do this or that. No, I'm trying to narrow down into the specifics.
Oh no, no,
Okay?
I did not say you did that. I say people in general like to do that. That
They
was
do.
maybe a miscommunication on my part. I did not blame you. No, no. I said people in general often like to put you in boxes. I did not accuse you that you put me in a box. No, 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 no. I'm sorry if you thought that I said that. No, no, I did not say that. That then was a mistake on my part. I never even thought that.
Clarification. That's why
No, no, no,
and here's
no,
the
you
thing,
did speak about that.
clarification is, this is why clarification is a beautiful thing. Because yeah,
Yeah,
I got a little grumpy with you there.
no, I
I'll
understand because you misunderstood, and I understand why you get grumpy because I would have been grumpy too. Because in your mind, I accused you for you putting me in a box which you never did. You were just talking, and I just said I hate people who put me in a box while I did not say that you did.
And again,
Uh,
that's the problem is I may very well have. That may not have been my intention though. So I may have put you in a corner there. So it's not just that I'm irritated at the accusation, I'm also irritated at myself for not having the linguistic wherewithal to not do that to you. It's
no,
a
it's
dual
fine.
frustration. It's a dual frustration of not only what comes at me, but what came from me. It's not
Yeah,
my intention.
I'm very much aware. Come on. You remind me very much of my little brother. Your mind works, how you talk, how you think. You remind me very much of my little brother, and we are very different persons. Meaning
Which is
that I
weird
would
how
annoy him, he will annoy me, but end of the day, we always will keep the dialogue open, and no one gets too pissed to just keep on and make sure what the other one really meant. That's the thing. I call it the exchange of minds. That is so important to me. That's something you cannot do with mind cage people, and you are not the mind cage person.
um, um, Kef. Okay, sorry. Do you mind if I do a quick little tangent, side tangent?
Yeah, okay, we do that. Of course, I'm open for everything.
This is again bookish related. Um, Even though I believe, I personally feel Stephen King is an absolute brain dead fuckwit when it comes to most of his sentiments and statements on X/Twitter. As a storyteller, there is one concept that this immediately put me in mind of from his Dark Tower series of novels. It is the idea of Kef, Khef, literally translated from the
My mother read those books. I did not
yeah.
read them.
Oh, you
I
should.
didn't read
I
the Twin
I
Towers.
would recommend them. They're really great. Solid, kind of weird fantasy, epic type.
Ooh,
In the
nice.
High Speech, which was a language spoken by the members of the Kingdom of Gilead back before the fall of Arthur Eld, they spoke the High Speech. This is just the language they spoke. And one of the words that stayed around, that remained relevant into the new world that Roland finds himself in, is the word kef. It literally translates to the sharing of water, because in the kingdom of
Ooh,
Gilead, in their
lovely
philosophy,
water.
in their
Water.
philosophy, they thought of communication with one another as the sharing of words, of vulgar base words, or the sharing of wood, that which is functional. But
Mm,
the conceit of the notions behind those words, the
I'm
concepts
weird
of,
like that. I'm weird
I'm
like
sorry,
that. I always say sharing of minds. I
yeah,
did come up with this because I think it's very important. I believe in the sharing of minds.
it's it's called kef, the sharing of water, the flow of ideas and concepts
Yes,
amongst members of a group. It is called kef.
yes.
That's put me in mind.
Very important. It's very important. I mean, how would you ever learn if you're just keeping being yourself? You need to challenge yourself with other perspectives. I hate debates, but because debates, they work like I know already what I know, and now I'm gonna convince you to believe what I know. I hate debates, but I love
Lilith,
conversations, discussions, and actually, I chose to myself calling it the exchange of minds where you will listen to another person what they have to say yourself, and then you will learn new stuff, and you can question yourself and actually evolve, actually for once evolve. Isn't that nice?
um, I do have to unfortunately cut you off because I do
Oh,
now have to. I got to hop off. I went
oh,
about half an hour past where I told my kiddos I was going to go to. Got the oldest right now upstairs, keeping an eye an ear on my younger son. They're
oh, that's
chilling
a
out
good
watching a
thing.
movie.
Real life
But
always comes first, we know that.
yeah, I got to hop off here. But I do
No, it's
want to
fine,
thank
it's
you.
fine.
I do want to thank you for hopping up and for joining me for the show. I didn't get around to talking football, but you know what? That's always a secondary thing. I can do a standalone video talking about that at some point.
Yeah, I don't know shit about football. I'm not American. Hmm.
Yeah, it's a thing for me. But anyhow,
Yeah, I enjoy. And
ladies
thank
and
you for
gentlemen,
having
thank
me
you for
on.
popping in. Thank you for tuning in and listening. I ask that you take care of yourselves, and as always, keep reading.
Always keep reading. Yes. Very smart.